Hello, everyone. This is Cole from the American Journal of Healthcare Strategy. I am joined this evening by Josh Freedman of the University of Pennsylvania and Airalux. Josh, please introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Hi, my name is Josh Freedman. I'm a current master's student in bioengineering at UPenn. Also did my undergrad there and graduated last May. I am also the co-founder and CEO of Airalux Medical, which started as a senior design project in the bioengineering department at Penn, and we're now spinning out into a company that's going to be my job for the foreseeable future.
That is so impressive that you started that as a senior project. And then also the biomedical engineering, one of the hardest degree programs. It combines that mechanical engineering, from what I understand, which is really challenging, but also the medical and biology part. What got you into that in the first place back in undergrad?
Yeah, so I started out as bioengineering at Penn and kind of liked it the whole way. When I was in high school, I was always interested in math, physics, and biology. And I was also interested in medicine. I would watch these surgery shows with my mom and did some basic nanoparticle research back in high school. So I thought bioengineering would be an interesting major for me when I started college. And I went through the intro classes and stuck with it.
So you started Aerolux in the final year of your bioengineering program.
Mhm.
Why did you then go for a master's after that? I know a lot of people, especially those who start companies, usually they leave off with their bachelor's.
Yeah. So Airalux started as a senior design project. Back then it was Inspire. And in the fall, when I decided that I was going to apply for the accelerated master's program at Penn, I really wasn't 100% sure what I would be doing after undergrad. I was thinking of taking a consulting job. I was thinking of maybe starting a company based on this senior design. And I really kind of did the master's first because I thought it would be a valuable degree for me. Second, because I kind of lost a year of school due to COVID. And I kind of wanted to just stick around and experience college for one more year. And it would also give me more time to kind of utilize Penn's resources and figure out what I would want to do afterwards.
We were talking about a VC beforehand, another one of those Penn companies. It seems like Penn has a really good program for startups and entrepreneurship. So I get why you wanted to take advantage of those resources.
Yeah.
I want to ask though, when it comes to getting a master's degree in the same subject as your undergrad, and specifically in the biomedical engineering, did you find that the work was valuable that you did?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the classes that I was taking in undergrad were very technically focused. It was like the hard engineering labs where you have to zap cockroach legs to make them spell out BE and all this other crazy stuff. So in my master's, I was kind of able to branch out into more of the kind of business side of the engineering classes. There's a whole engineering entrepreneurship department at Penn, which is really, really great. They have been so incredibly helpful and formative to me. And other classes within engineering and one outside of engineering that's in Wharton that somehow counts for my degree. And it's been really insightful.
Of course, that's excellent.
I would say so, especially with the accelerated master's program at Penn. They allow you to, if you want to take more classes, you can get it done in 4 years without having to pay extra, which I would
Oh,
definitely recommend.
wonderful. So let's go back for a minute. Talking about that senior design project. What did that project start out as? I don't know a lot about the biomedical engineering space. I'm not as technical as yourself, of course. So, if you can explain what that started out as, and then where we are now with things.
Yeah, 100%. So the senior design programs at Penn, every engineering will have you kind of work on a year-long project with a group of people. So in August, when class started, I had my group of people, and we had to figure out what were we going to do for the next year. So I think one of kind of the best decisions that I've made was instead of just kind of picking a topic at the beginning of the class, we spent the first month of class kind of slacking on assignments, but reaching out to dozens of nurses and doctors and basically just asking them to complain about stuff to us. And eventually we kind of picked up on this incentive spirometry problem that really resonated with the team. And we decided that that was something that we would want to work on for the next few months as we kind of continued working on the technology itself for the class. We also completed validation outside of the class, kind of talking to doctors and nurses and validating that this was a problem worth solving. And as we kind of got more and more positive feedback, the team and I decided that this would be something that would be interested in continuing even outside of the scope of the senior design class.
So, what is that exact problem that they had?
So, right now, basically every single patient who gets an inpatient surgery where they have to stay in the hospital will get a device called an incentive spirometer. When you have one of these surgeries, you've been anesthetized and you're kind of lying there in the hospital bed for days after surgery. And that can leave your lungs prone to complications such as atelectasis, pneumonia, and things that can lead to reintubation and a whole host of complications. So, to prevent that, hospitals give you this incentive or therapeutic spirometer, and you're supposed to do breathing exercises with it. They tell you every commercial break, it's around like every 10 minutes to kind of reinflate your lungs. The problem is that a lot of patients aren't actually doing these exercises for a number of reasons. They don't understand why they need to do it, they don't understand how to do it. They know that there's not too much accountability, and then on the provider side, they really have no way to tell whether or not the patients are doing these exercises besides going in and asking them. And we've heard a lot of times they'll say, "Yeah, I was doing them," when the device is still sitting in the plastic or kind of nowhere near them.
Yeah.
So that's
Wow.
kind of the problem that we set out to solve with our innovation.
It kind of seems like it hasn't been something that people have really worked on for many years. It seems like it's a very old technology, right?
I think the original incentive spirometer was patented in the 70s or 80s, and it's kind of just been the standard of care since.
Wow. So, what are you doing differently? What was the design that you guys made that clearly went very well when you showed it to clinicians?
Yeah. So what we've been working on is kind of a smart digital version of the incentive spirometer. We have a handheld device that's in a much neater form factor than the kind of clunky standard of care one. It has a screen and a speaker, both to kind of guide the patients through the exercises instead of just dealing with the piece of plastic where they're not getting much feedback. We also have a smartphone app where patients will be able to see their progress over time and also see kind of educational videos and anything else they might need on there. And the providers will have a dashboard where they can easily see all of their patients and they can tell, like, look, hey, Cole, you're not doing your exercises. Are you in pain? Do you need anything?
Wow. Very impressive. So, what I'm wondering about that is this also, are you looking at this being in every hospital? Is this going to be in home health? What are the different areas that this kind of product is going to be used in?
Yeah. So the workflow that we're currently envisioning is very similar to the regular incentive spirometer. So they give it to you after your surgery. You do exercises with it while you're staying in the hospital. And then it gets sent home with you where you can continue to do the exercises, but it's a little less crucial once you go home. And it's the same idea with our device. They'll get it after their surgery. They'll hopefully do their exercises more often than they're currently doing them. And then they'll be able to take it home afterwards. And if they need to continue doing exercises, they'll be able to.
Wow. And so, does that mean you have to get it low cost enough, right? Where they're able to take this device home? Are they going to
Yeah. So,
return it afterwards?
yeah. So that's kind of one of the biggest challenges with the device that we're coming up with is we're competing against a $2 piece of plastic. So we really need to rationalize the increase in cost that's going to come from digitizing it. Right now, we're looking at around $100 price point, which is based on the amount of value that we'll be providing to the hospitals. The way we rationalize it is hospitals have this baseline rate of postoperative lung complications, which costs them a bunch of money because these inpatient surgeries are generally paid for through an insurance package called a DRG, which is a flat rate. So any additional care is going to end up getting footed by the hospital. So when a patient gets one of these complications, a lot of the time the hospital can end up footing the bill. So we're saying we're going to decrease the probability of those complications by a certain percent by getting patients to do these breathing exercises. So there's kind of an expected savings of, so far we have around $500 per patient. So we would be paying $100 of that for our device, and the hospital would be getting an 80% margin of that.
Wow, that is an impressive margin for a medical device. That's not common in the industry. So that's excellent. How did you figure out, was that something that one of your teammates were involved in, or were you guys all working on it? How to get the costs down? Because I assume when you were building it initially, the costs on the device were probably quite high, your first prototype.
Yeah, so the costs for our first prototype, building the unit itself probably was around $80 with all of the components.
Oh, wow.
What we've been doing now is kind of gradually finding more efficient components that will still get the job done, but kind of don't include as much unnecessary features and kind of technicalities that we don't need.
Nice.
And we're hoping that once we would move this device into mass production, instead of a bunch of college students soldering it together in a lab, we could get that cost down even more.
Of course, and then you're able to pay for the development of the programs. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, does it plug into systems like Epic and Cerner? What does that dashboarding look like exactly?
Yeah. So currently we have our own app, which is going to make it easier for us to pilot the device in the near future. Integrating with Epic is not particularly easy for a bunch of bioengineering college students. So we've definitely been told by doctors and nurses that it would be very helpful for them to just be able to go into Epic and see this data without switching windows and fumbling into an app. So eventually that's something that we would want to support. But right now it's kind of just a small dashboard on the app itself where you see all the patients, how many exercises they're doing, if they're
Right.
successful in those exercises, and then you can kind of use that information as you will.
But all of that, of course, goes into where you guys are now. I think we were talking about before the show started that you're just starting to do a clinical trial on this device, right? Can you tell us about what that's looking like?
Yeah. So kind of one of the biggest assumptions of this business right now is that this fancy digital device with all of its bells and whistles is actually going to be able to get patients to do more of the breathing exercises. That's our biggest assumption right now. And when we've gone out and spoken to investors, that's kind of one of the biggest reservations that they've had. So, kind of the main way that we would be able to test that is just by getting it into a few patients' hands and seeing if they do more exercises. We have some partners in the thoracic surgery department at Penn, Doctors Gerard and Peckett, as well as a few of their advanced practice providers that work in the thoracic surgery department. So we've had an introductory call with them. They were pretty excited about the device. And right now we're in the process of writing up an IRB that we'll submit. Hopefully we'll get approved, and then they'll be able to try the device on some of their patients and see how many exercises they're doing.
How long do you think until we're going to be able to see these results?
We're hoping that it'll be over the summer. We anticipate filing the IRB in the next few weeks. It should be expedited, so hopefully it'll only take a few weeks after that, maybe some back and forth. And the device development, since it was a senior design project, we've had a mostly functioning prototype basically since last April. So we'll be able to go into the lab and get some of those made ourselves pretty quickly once we need to.
Wow.
And then they see around 5 eligible patients per week. And we're kind of targeting 20 or 30 in this small study just to see if they're doing more of the exercises. So hopefully we'll have some data this summer.
That would be excellent. I'm excited to see what the
Yeah.
results of that are. I'm sure you're very, very excited about that. What led you to actually, because, I'm assuming there's some risk involved in this. You don't have unlimited time and, you could have gone into maybe consulting or something else, and consulting, especially for biomedical right now, is pretty lucrative, especially coming from Penn. So why did you choose to do this over doing something that you could have made a lot more money or had a bit easier go of things?
Yeah, there are a few reasons. I think one part of it is definitely the passion. Like, I really enjoyed doing this as a senior design project. And I do think it's a real problem and a large market opportunity. And it's a possibility to benefit a lot of patients with a superior device. So I really wanted to help with that. I think this is going to be a great experience for me. Even if it doesn't go well, I'm hoping it does. I'm still going to learn a ton, and I'll hopefully have decent exit opportunities no matter what happens with Airalux.
What are some of the biggest things that you've learned during this experience? You mentioned that the lessons and the information you've come away with has been very valuable for you. I'm sure other organizations are probably going to look at your resume that way as well. What personally do you think you've really learned from this experience that you're going to take with you to all of your future roles?
Yeah, I think some of the most important things that I've learned to date, I think with any business, it's extremely important to talk to customers and know your customers so that you're making sure that you're solving a problem that really exists and kind of ensuring product market fit. Because I think that's one of the biggest thing that can kill businesses. And I think a lot of kind of first time entrepreneurs make the mistake of not doing enough research on the market, spending a bunch of money developing a product that no one's actually interested in.
Mm.
So I think that's probably the biggest thing. I've definitely learned a lot about the healthcare system itself in terms of kind of how things are done, billing and coding, what hospitals care about, is it better outcomes, reimbursement, all of those things that I think will kind of give me more insight into, a future career in healthcare, either from the investment side or from the entrepreneurial side.
I was just going to say, how did you learn your customer? How did you come to know your customer?
We participated in the VIP Accelerator through Venture Labs at Penn, and they really pushed us to do a lot of customer outreach. To date, I think we've spoken to around 50 doctors and nurses by literally just cold emailing people, setting up interviews, and then really just asking them open ended questions, not trying to lead them with our product. We purposely talked minimally about our product before interviewing them so that we could get a real honest opinion from them on their current workflow, how things are done, kind of what problems they're experiencing, what they care about, and then going from there.
Talking minimally about the product so that you can get honest feedback is very important. I found that especially when you share an institution with someone, sometimes they're very excited for you to succeed, and so they might,
Yeah.
give you the idea that it's more successful than it actually is.
No one
I
wants to
think
call your baby ugly.
exactly.
Painful.
Oh, that's great. Very, very good. So that's excellent. Where do you see, if everything goes well, the future of this going? Is this a company that you think is going to get acquired? Or is this an organization where you'd like to build it out and maybe even come up with more medical devices?
I'm thinking personally that since this isn't really a platform technology, it's kind of just one main idea. We've filed a provisional patent application for it, hopefully converting that soon. We would build out this device, get FDA approval, maybe build a small sales force to get it in a few hospitals and build some traction, and then eventually, get it acquired by a larger medical device company that has the manufacturing capacity to really scale it.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Well, congratulations, Josh, on everything that you've done so far. It's very impressive. It's inspiring for me to hear. I'm sure our audience is also going to like this as well. So I really do appreciate your time today. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.